Great. Hi, everybody. Good morning. Welcome. It's nice to be with you all this Monday morning. We are here this morning to talk about the 2026 renewal evaluations and the renewal evaluation database for Connecticut Balance of State Continuum of Care. Um, I am Shannon Quinn Sheeran, and I am joined today with my colleagues from Housing Innovations, Liz Isaacs, Lauren Peretti, and Miles Wensek, and our colleague from Nutmeg, Adam Yarnett, who's going to give a presentation at the end about the RED database, a demonstration for us. So again, we're here to talk about the renewal evaluations for this year, but if you are a street outreach program, there is another different webinar this afternoon at 1 o'clock. So either if this is appropriate for you, you can stay if you have other projects other than street outreach, but if you're only street outreach, come to the 1 o'clock presentation. Some housekeeping things. Feel free to use the chat feature or raise your hand for questions and then unmute yourself, but please stay on mute when you're not speaking to cut down on some background noise for us. The slides for today are posted to the CT BOS renewal evaluation webpage, and they'll be added to the chat a few minutes after we start because they don't, if people join late, they won't see it. So we will add the slides to the chat, and this webinar is being recorded and it will be posted later today to the CT BOS webpage. All right, next slide. That's me. Next slide. Here's the agenda for today. Welcome introductions, background on renewal evaluation, why we do this, a little bit of history, the 2026 renewal evaluation criteria, process and schedule, the demo by Nutmeg, and then at the end there's going to be time for questions and a slide for resources. There are lots of details that we're going to provide you during this webinar. Sometimes we're going to repeat ourselves a few times in a few different contexts to help us all remember and understand the process. Background. So I wanted to start, this is a gorgeous picture of the background, right? So before we launch into all the details today, if we could take a breath and maybe bring to mind something pleasant, something positive that happened in our lives recently. And maybe throw it in the chat if you feel like sharing. It's great to start out the week with something positive. So I am thinking of my son. Our son surprised us and came home this weekend. So that's exciting. Plus, we were all just talking about the new signs of spring that we're seeing, little shoots of daffodils, or I saw some snowdrops this weekend. So warmer weather is coming. So feel free to add stuff to the chat. Oh my gosh, my youngest got their driver's license. That's Liz. That's exciting. Yeah, please keep them coming. Kiddo committed to Quinnipiac this week. Wow, exciting things. Please feel free to keep on adding those. We need all the positivity we can get here. Okay, so some key facts about the renewal evaluation process. We've been conducting evaluations of renewal projects for many years now, and the process has certainly evolved over the years, given HUD guidance, and as we learn more about our system, the strengths that has or the challenges that it has. So for instance, some of the metrics have changed. Some of the metrics we no longer measure at all because providers were consistently performing so well on them. So our continuum of care has over 110 projects with many sub-projects, which are all evaluated separately. Many of the larger projects having DEMIS or Connecticut Department of Housing as the main recipient have the numerous sub-recipients. And as I said, those are evaluated on the sub-recipient level. HUD requires COC to evaluate certain things. They look at whether the metrics are objective. They look at projects, whether they're evaluated in an equitable and transparent way. So again, this process keeps evolving. We use HMIS data, which is also used for the annual performance reports or APRs and system performance measures for most of the metrics for our renewal evaluations. And later on in the presentation, we're going to talk more about schedule and the steps that you take to go through this process. A continuation of why and how we evaluate. We use system performance data. So all of this data, length of stay, income, exit destinations, is the data from our individual projects, which feed into system performance measures. System performance measures, or SPMs, is a report that's system-wide, and it's a year's worth of data that we send to HUD, and HUD then uses this in part to score each continuum of care, or COC, in the annual competition, which we refer to often as the NOFO. COCs are required to rate and rank all projects that we submit in the NOFO. This includes renewal projects and new projects. So the scores here from this process are what we use to rank renewal projects. Doing the renewal evaluation also provides us an opportunity at both the broader COC and the individual project level to take a closer look at how projects are doing and how that may impact the whole system, and use that information to help improve our system. So we might look at trainings that are needed, some resources that we might make available or look for and make available to you all. So for instance, we have in the past added SOAR resources to get Social Security benefits. We might do employment trainings or look at employment resources and highlight them in some presentations that we do and that kind of thing. The better the COC performance, the more fully funded our renewals will be, and the more funds we will have for new projects. The renewal evaluation database is something we've used for approximately the last 5 years, and we refer to it as RED as the acronym. So RED enables providers to see exactly what their score will be, taking data from HMIS or the comparable database for DV providers, SurveyMonkey for consumer surveys, and Zengen, which is our grant management database. Providers have direct access to their scores, their HMIS data in real time. We'll talk about that a little bit later. And can regularly check the renewal evaluation score. And you can see how the score changes in the RED database in response to your HMIS data updates. We're going to say this a couple of times, but if you do change your data in HMIS, you're going to then have to update the RED to see how the score impacts in real time. Any questions so far? No? No. Okay. HMIS and comparable database. As last year, the reporting period is October 1st, 2024 through September 30th, 2025. It's always those same months, obviously not the same years. And that's for most measures. This time period corresponds to the same reporting period as system performance measures. Any data cleanup you all have been doing for SPMs, and for some, if you've been doing data cleanup for PIT, for example, double checking your move-in dates for rapid rehousing or PSH, are going to be helpful in getting the data accurate and your renewal evaluation report and score as accurate as possible. So thanks to the work that you've already been doing in some of that cleanup. RED pulls data straight from HMIS into the renewal evaluation reports. And as such, if you see that something in the system related to client data is not correct, that must be corrected in HMIS. Or again, if you're a DV provider, in the comparable database. So you all should have seen already this list of renewal evaluation projects that's linked here. That's the list of projects that are being evaluated this year. Agencies should have confirmed their HMIS IDs already, that they're correct for the project. And Miles has shared with us that this is kind of a perennial problem, that the HMIS ID might be incorrect for a specific project. So please double check that those are correct for all of you. If your project has multiple HMIS IDs, please be sure that each ID is correctly listed. Here are links to the 2026 renewal evaluation criteria. There's lots of really good, very specific information in there. I'm going to show you a screenshot of part of that document in the next page. And then the 2026 renewal evaluation instructions, which again contain a wealth of good, solid information for you to follow along in this process and know what you're supposed to do when. And here are the metrics in the graphic here that are going to be measured for our renewal evaluation this year. So this is a screenshot of the top of the page. It's just an example. The document itself of the criteria shows each and every one of the criteria, and if your project or what type of project specifically is going to be evaluated on what metrics. So you can see at the top the adult PSH, adult rapid, adult transitional housing, and then some of the youth programs. So you can look and see exactly what your project type is, and then either yes, or if there's a blank there for YHDP crisis TH occupancy, it's not going to be evaluated for adult programs, for instance, right? So that's a great resource. We, as in last year, we're going to use RED to submit questions or issues in we're going to submit all our questions and issues in RED, and later we're going to submit score change requests in that system. And if your project is one that will require a corrective action plan, that also will be submitted in RED. So everything is in one place and it's easier for everyone to track what's going on. We're not going back and forth with emails, finding things, that type of thing. New and notable. The evaluation criteria have been updated this year. The steering committee made several changes, given information that we've received from HUD, and we're going to highlight in the next couple of slides what's new. Scores on new measures are now visible in red. I think we're going to talk through the steps to be able to get those scores, but yes.
I just wanted to say real quickly, so the steering committee added these measures that Shannon's gonna go through now because they were doing so was worth a significant number of points, in the upcoming competition. And so not aligning what we do with what HUD wants would have made it much less likely that we were going to be able to hold on to all of our renewal funding to keep funding all of your great programs, as well as have any hope for getting any new money. So that's kind of the reason why this happened, and the reason why these two items are so heavily weighted that was dictated by HUD.
Yeah, so, and some of those scores, the points are on each of these slides, so you'll see how many points they're worth. So new, we're scoring returns to homelessness. This has been a system performance measure, and now we're looking at it on the renewal evaluation. The evaluation period is October 1st, 24 to September 30th, 25. So these are people that we're going to measure who left the program to not homelessness, to permanent housing, during the year before that, between October 2023 to September 2024, and then came back the following year or the evaluation year. So for adult and youth PSH programs, if 7% or fewer of your participants return to homelessness, you get full points. Other programs, you get full points for 11% or fewer of your participants returning to homelessness. And this metric is worth 25% of points or 50 points. There is a known issue in RED, and that is with this metric that I just talked about. The date range isn't capturing correctly, but Nutmeg and us, Housing Innovations, are aware of it, and we're working to fix it. And it should be fixed during the beginning half of this week. So stay tuned. We'll send you information about that when it is rectified. We're also scoring employment income increases. So adult and youth or YHDP, PSH, rapid rehousing, and rapid exit diversion programs get full points if 25% or more of your participants have increased income. And the same goes for youth YHDP TH programs, but adult TH programs, you get full points if 40% or more of the participants increase employment income. All right, next slide. There also is a new service participation requirement. All projects must require participation. This has been talked about in the steering committee in services for all participants. All projects must meet the requirement, and projects not meeting this requirement will receive a score of 0 points. Linked here are the engagement principles, which talk about how to implement those service requirements. So the principles require a light touch, emphasize light touch approach to implementing service participation requirements. The onus continues to be on projects to make services useful to clients so that they want to participate. And the expectation also continues to be that providers use assertive engagement techniques, providing many opportunities for engagement. So this approach, as described in the engagement principles, should be very similar to the approach we have historically used in CT-BOS.
And again, this was a HUD requirement, right? So we made this change in order to again align with what the current administration is looking for from us, and make sure that we get as many points as we can, so that we can hang on to as much of your funding as we possibly can. And everyone is just assumed out of the gate on this measure to be meeting this requirement, right? Because the steering committee passed the policy, and I'm sure you are, like Shannon said, we're taking this as a very light touch approach to this. So we are just automatically assuming that you all meet this requirement, so that there's nothing you need to do differently in order to get these, in order to meet this requirement and get these points. Eric, you have your hand up.
Yeah, I was just going to ask about, so we don't provide services here within our office. How do we know, how do we make sure that our folks are connected to the service providers? And also we have we have a couple folks that are not connected, but our service providers weren't also funded to provide services to everybody we administer vouchers for, if that makes sense.
Yeah. So again, Eric, this really doesn't change very much on the ground how you guys operate.
Okay.
So I'm sure your team is already working hard to try and connect people, when you see them, which I understand is, not that many times a year, but link people to whatever services are available to them, whether it is, through service providers that are specifically have funding designated, COC funding designated in the project, or through other services that are available always to everyone in the LMHAs. So there's nothing different that you need to do in order to meet this requirement.
Great, thank you.
Okay. the initial steps of getting into the RED database, if you haven't completed this already, don't worry about it because you're going to have to do it again regardless. So the initial step of grant assessment review was required at the end of last month. But again, as I said, everyone has to start fresh because the data has been refreshed for every project. So you're still going to have to do this because RED has been updated with these new measures that we have just talked about. So next slide. Grant assessment review. Um, these slides we're hoping can be used by all of you as a reference as you all go through RED. Liz and I are going to walk you through them now, and you see some screenshots here, and then Adam will show you in the live database what it looks like there. This screen is what it looks like when providers first go in. So you go in, you see grants and projects. Next to your project, you click awaiting submission, the blue highlighted words there, under the 2026 score. Once RED has processed an evaluation, the project score or number will appear instead of awaiting submission in that column. This screen is what it looks like next, when what providers will see next. So you have to click the black box, complete grant assessment review, in order to see and review your scores and the data that goes into those scores. The next screen that you'll see, I'm just gonna note here that all projects being evaluated are based on the 2023 NOFO. This can be confusing. So this screen is going to show 2023 instead of 2026 like the rest of the screens. The evaluation is for the 2026 NOFO renewal applications. And when providers go in, you have to fill out, this is for non-DV providers. You have to fill out the 2 drop-down menus. So you look at the operating year and respond if that looks correct to you in the drop-down menu there, and under confirm operating year. And then you look at the HMIS project name that's below that first drop-down. You look at the project name, the HMIS ID, the project type, and then go to confirm project list and tell us if everything looks okay there or it doesn't. And then click submit grant renewal for review. I'm going to show the DV screen next. The DV screen looks a little bit different because if you've done this before and you're a DV program, you know you have to upload the HUD CSV export in order for us to get your data into RED. So you do that in the first where it says HUD CSV export, and then you look at and confirm the grant information. I'm sorry, the operating year, right? And then confirm operating year in the drop down below that, and then go ahead and submit that in the blue button. Any questions? No questions. Okay. Avoiding common pitfalls. We do have some errors that are easy to make every year. So to help avoid some of them, we're going to go through them here. For all your projects, please make sure that your annual assessments are complete. These annual assessments are done on or around the anniversary of your program entry date, and it hasn't been it's been a common error that if your data isn't updated on that annual assessment, then it won't show correctly your score about how the people in your project are their performance is going. So incomplete HMIS data, also missing participants, so people who have not yet been enrolled, who you're seeing and working with, or people who have not been exited from the program, who have departed, you know, several months ago, perhaps. Or an incomplete assessment, an incomplete exit assessment, or an incomplete annual, like you've started it but haven't completed it, it needs to be complete in order to register for RED to pick it up. So check to be sure that you're showing the correct number of people in the program. Um, and also make sure there's a move-in date. If you have a PSH project or a rapid rehousing project, make sure there's a move-in date for everyone that needs one in your program. Next slide. So when you do see something not showing correctly in RED, right, you're like, no, that's not the right number of participants, so I'm going to go ahead and tweak my data. Or no, I know more people have gained income, and I'm going to go ahead and look at their assessments and make sure that information is correct. So great, you've fixed everything as you believe that you should have in HMIS, and you're coming back and your score hasn't changed, you have to refresh the data. So see this little blue box that we've highlighted for you, update score based on current HMIS data. You need to click that in order for those updates to show in RED. And I think now I'm going to hand it over to Liz.
Yeah, thanks, Shannon. So we're going to look at performance and go through the different metrics that you all are going to be evaluated on. Okay. So we always look at spending because we want to make sure that we are spending all of our very, very precious funds. So we call this efficient use of our resources. And you can see here that our data source, so where do we get this information? We look at the SAGE spending data from the most recent APR that's submitted to HUD. And the evaluation period is the project operating year. So you can see that if you have a project with over $2 million, you need to leave less than 75,000 unspent. Projects in the middle between 250,000 and 2 million need to spend 95% and leave less than 50,000 unspent. And under 250,000, you need to spend at least 85% of your funding. And if you are a new project, you are exempt from this, or a transfer project. Okay. So how do we get the spending data? So we want to make sure that we have the most up-to-date data available, and we want to score you on that, but we have some limitations because we can only use the data that we actually have. So we're going to give you some examples here. So we'll evaluate your spending from the most recent complete grant operating year in SAGE as of January 31st, 2026. So for example, if your project ended at the end of October and you submitted in SAGE at the end of January, we would look at November 1st, 2024 to October 31st, 2025. But if your project ended 11/30/2025 and the APR was not submitted until late February, we would look at the spending period December 1st, 2023 to November 30th, 2024. So basically, we can only look at what has been officially submitted. And if you wanted us to look at the most recent data, you can always submit your APR earlier. So again, if you finished at the end of November 2025, and you got your APR in by the end of January, we would be able to look at December 1st, 2024 to November 30th, 2025. So
That's kind of moot now
yes,
for this
right.
year.
Yes,
We're a little bit off our usual cycle because of the changes that HUD made, but keep that in
yes,
mind for next year. There's nothing you can do now in
exactly.
order for
Yeah,
us to be able to look at more updated spending data for you, but keep that in mind for next year if you are a program that whose end date ends in
yep,
that window that Liz just talked.
yeah, yeah. Great. So as you guys know, we look at occupancy. We always want to make sure we're using every unit that's available for our folks. So we want to make sure that you have a minimum of 90% occupied, and it's based on a quarterly utilization, which if anybody gets confused or needs more information, Miles, of course, can explain it to you. And for YHDP crisis, transitional housing, and youth PSH, what it is we look at up to one, you get up to one empty bed per quarter. Next. So we of course want to keep people in housing and we look at housing stability by looking at exits to permanent housing. So if you're a permanent supportive housing project, we're looking for 95% of your folks staying or exiting to permanent housing. For rapid rehousing and transitional housing, we want to see 95% of the folks leaving to permanent housing. When we look at youth, rapid rehab, the NYHDP rapid rehousing and diversion rapid exits, we're looking for 85% of the folks going to permanent housing. YHDP crisis transitional housing, 60% to permanent housing. And then we want to see that youth rapid rehousing, diversion rapid exit crisis, transitional housing, that less than 5% exit to shelter, unsheltered, or unknown. Okay. And just a note here, this has come up in the past, and we've really tried to be responsive to who should be in these sets as we look at remain or exit to permanent housing. So removed from the set, excluded are anyone deceased, a program with only one negative exit, exits from housing if folks are seeking safety, they're just not safe where they are, and they might need to go to a DV shelter or another place to keep them safe. And then exits to foster care, group home, hospital, long-term care, nursing home, and substance abuse treatment. Questions, comments? I feel like every year that's an issue, so hopefully we have addressed that. We're going to take a look at non-cash benefits. So we want to see participants with non-cash benefits, excluding health insurance, at 95%, and then DV at 76%. And it is not scored for YHDP. So I see Elaine asking about prison. Prison is a negative exit. We're also going to look at length of stay. So how long are folks staying in the program? So for DV transitional housing programs, we're looking for length of stay 2 years or less. For youth transitional housing, COC non-DV, length of stay is 1 year or less. And YHDP crisis TH housing, length of stay is 60 days or less. Questions, comments?
I just said Elaine is saying that exit to prison, that being counted as a negative outcome, can't be controlled. And Lauren.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think if people, we say that, so periodically the steering committee will look at the criteria and update the criteria. We don't do that every year because it requires changes in our ED then. So this year we did do an update, but it really was to align with what HUD wanted. So when there is a window of opportunity again, when the steering committee is looking at adjustments to criteria, that's the time when people can raise any concerns. But these criteria are largely the same as the criteria I think that we've used more or less for the last 2 years, with the exception of the items that Shannon talked about earlier, return to homelessness, and then scoring income. We've been looking at income. We have just not been scoring income.
Yep.
Earned income.
Thanks, Lauren. That's helpful. So earned income, we're looking at earned income, and this is scored for all youth projects except YHDP, diversion rapid exit, and we're looking at 25% increased earned income from entry to exit or follow-up for all except it is 40% for transitional housing. Okay. So we're going to talk about consumer surveys. So every year we look at, we call them consumer surveys, participant surveys. They are something folks are scored on. And we just wanted, the next couple slides, most of this information, we just want to make sure. So the DMIS consumer surveys were due by June 30th, 2025. And now just a plug that they will be due June 30th, 2026. So we'll keep reminding you of that, but because we have a captive audience, we'll remind you. And we align that because it works with the DMIS survey, so it's a little bit different than the BOS surveys. So this year, the BOS surveys were due in early February. They actually initially were due in January, but we pushed the deadline. The maximum points folks can get is 35% at response rate. So you get all the points if you have a 35% response rate. Projects that don't submit any surveys get 0, and that projects who are late get a 5 point penalty. For the most part, this was probably our best year in terms of folks getting surveys to us, so thank you. We really appreciate it, and we know it's a lot of work, but I think it's really important information, and overall, we get here really great. We see really great satisfaction, and folks write really kind and wonderful things about all of you. So generally, it's a positive experience, and we will report in the next month or two or so at the steering committee. So you can hear about that. And then, of course, you guys get some reports from us as well to see all the great stuff that folks are saying about you. Okay. So this is just a reminder for next year that agencies that get DEMIS funding can use DEMIS surveys, but you can use BOS surveys. We have great folks helping us out at DEMIS who send us a report, and we get your DEMIS surveys directly from DEMIS, so you don't need to submit those reports to us. We get all these A+ people who like to submit reports to us, which is really kind of you, but just keep in mind our friends at DEMIS do a great job of sending us the information. And then just a note, non-DEMIS providers. So if you're not getting DEMIS funding, just make sure you're using the CT BOS survey. And then if you want to use the CT BOS survey instead of the DEMIS survey, if you're a DEMIS provider, just let us know because we need to make sure we pull you out of the set that DEMIS sends to us. So just a
And,
reminder, this is for next year. Go ahead.
and it's either or,
Yes.
right? So either you're going to use the DEMIS surveys that you submit to DEMIS anyway, or you're going to use the CT BOS surveys, right? We don't, it gets very messy if you try to combine the two. So try not to do that, please.
Yeah, there were a few people that had both this year, which was very confusing. So, and they should be fixed in a sense for your scoring now. But yeah, because when I see BOS surveys, I don't look for DEMA surveys, and then when that happened, I had to plug them in. So it's
So,
yeah,
so our team always tries to work with you guys, right? Because we want to everything to count for you, but it may not always be possible. So it's really much better if you just stick to one or the other. So that's technically the rule that you should either do one or the other. Although when we can, we try to work with people when there's been a mistake.
Perfect. And just so folks know, there are 5 points deducted if you are late. Again, that ship has sailed, but just keeping that in mind. And again, I think this year we probably had the fewest number of agencies submitting stuff late. So we appreciate that. Thank you. Because we really want to count, like I said, we really want the surveys. So we appreciate you getting them to us. So we're going to just go over the process and schedule of what's happening with renewal evaluation. We're always telling you, we want you to update your ZenGen contacts. And this is really important because that's how we know who to reach out to in your agency. And as you know, there are staff changes, there are roles changing. And so it's really helpful to us if you can hop in, go into ZenGen, which as Shannon talked about before, is our grant management database, and just make sure all the right people are in there. We're in there all the time. For example, we just sent reports out to street outreach, and that's who we include. So if you're not there and you're wondering why you aren't getting a report, that's why. So please, make sure you're doing all this. There's a quick little ZenGen training if you need to see what to do. And then Shannon is, as always, crazy helpful and will help you with any issues you have. So please reach out though, because we don't want you frustrated that you're not getting the right report or you're not getting the right information. So this part's really important. So the schedule. So we've done some stuff in the past. We're not including that. We're looking ahead. So today's the webinar. The deadline for you to submit support requests, and you see that green is underlined, so you can click on it. It will take you where you need to go in RED, is March 23rd. So please, if there's something that doesn't look right, submit your support request. Then about a week later, it is your final deadline to make any changes you want in red. And then we're going to tell you this over and over again. You're going to make any changes, and then you are going to refresh. Because if you don't refresh, you're not going to see what's happening. If what you see is happening seems just wrong, and you're not satisfied, you have the ability to submit a score change request, and you can do that right in Red, just like you've done in the past. Um, and we're going to set some dates for April and June coming up. So you're going to watch out, please, for notifications from us, but you will have the ability to see your change requests in RED. And then if you are not pleased, you are able to let us know that, and you can submit grievances, and then we'll let you know what the results from those grievances are. And then in June, we will have corrective action plan deadlines. So be on the lookout for this spring. We will update you as time goes on. We just don't want to put incorrect dates and confuse people and change things, but we will shortly have new dates for you. Are there any questions about the process or schedule?
I think
I just want to say one quick thing. So don't email our team, please, with support requests in RED, because that we keep track to make sure that we've gotten back to everything. So use that support feature in RED rather than emailing someone on the team, because that's how we make sure that we've processed everything and that every loop is closed here. So please use that feature. And then we will let you know, like Liz said, in April, when in April, the results of any change requests that you've submitted, when those results will be visible to you in RED. So that's the thing that we don't have yet, but the deadline for you to submit change requests in RED is established, and that's 2 weeks from today. So we've truncated our schedule a little bit here. I'm sure you're probably noticing we've taken out some steps that we normally have. And that is really because of, the new information that we got from HUD about the new criteria that they are requiring us in order to get full points that Shannon talked about earlier. That really delayed us quite a bit. And we also know, based upon the budget language that was passed by Congress, that HUD is required to release the upcoming, not the 2025 NOFO, which still hasn't been resolved, but the 2026 NOFO by June. And so we need to move quickly so that we are ready for the 2026 competition. So we apologize for the truncated timeline, but we are trying very hard to just manage the situation that we are being handed by HUD.
Thanks, Lauren. So if you have an issue, you need to, Lauren just said this, you're going to submit a support request in RED, not through email. You are always, that doesn't preclude you from just, if you're so frustrated and confused, put it in and then say, Liz or Miles, please, just, can I have a quick phone call? And we're always happy to talk to you on the phone, especially Miles, because this is his jam, but I'll always talk to you too. I might send you off to Miles. But so this doesn't mean we don't want to talk to you, but like Lauren said, we get a lot of emails, and we want to be responsive, and it's really hard if it's coming in through Gmail. So put it in, and if you just feel like, gosh, I want to talk to somebody about this, pick up the phone and call Miles or call me, and we're happy to chat with you about any of this. And if you need help with HMIS data cleanup, so something is just not right in HMIS, we have a link right there, and that will take you to the place to say to Nutmeg, hey, this isn't working out. Something doesn't look quite right in HMIS, and they will help you out there. Okay. And then our friends who are using the DV comparable database, they're going to see Joanne at CCADV, and here is her email. So if something's not quite right, she is going to point you in the right direction and help you problem solve that. So we just talked a little bit about this. So once your reports are final, you have the ability to submit your change request we told you about this, by the 30th. Change requests are processed, and they will be visible to you in RED sometime in April. Again, we will communicate that so you will know what to look when and what to look out for. If your change requests don't result in a score change and you still want it in there and you haven't withdrawn it, then it will go to the CT BOS chairs, and then we will let you know the grievance results in April. Questions, comments? And we just want to always remind you of this so that you're not frustrated. spending a lot of time telling us about something that we're just really not by policy allowed to process. So this has been passed by the steering committee. So these particular issues are just not allowed to be grieved. So evaluation standards. So they've been adopted by the steering committee. At this time, a provider can't say, wow, that seems unfair. Like Lauren said, if you say, wow, that just doesn't make any sense, please know that we will have a time at the steering committee, and we will let you know whenever that is. When we review the criteria, that's when it's time to have a conversation about it and to include it in the criteria. But the standards are set, and in the spirit of equity, we have to apply the standards to everyone. Miss deadlines, we try really hard to communicate when things are due. And so we just have to, again, in the spirit of making things fair for everyone, we have to stick to the deadlines. So we don't, that isn't something folks can grieve. And then a lot of projects face the same challenges, and they are real challenges, but we can't take grievances talking about a really hard housing market, staff turnover, or different housing stability challenges folks have. And we recognize this is frustrating because folks may have certain cases that really feel like they impacted your score, and they may have, but we aren't able to take grievances on those. And then projects that aren't meeting performance because they didn't have enough eligible applicants. We've worked really hard to message to folks and agencies that if you don't have folks, reach out to another CAN, because as you know, the need is great throughout Connecticut, and the hope and expectation is that we're all working together to make sure that projects are filled. And if that means thinking outside the box and thinking outside your CAN, we hope that that's happening. And just as a side note, if it's not and you'd like some assistance with that, please contact us. We're always happy to help cross-CAN communication.
I just wanted to say really quickly, the reason why we don't take, the steering committee has decided to establish a policy where, we don't consider things like, oh, it's a really rough housing market, is for fairness again, right? Because everyone is facing those same dynamics. And so if we change one score, we can't look at that individually across every single project. It's way too big of a portfolio. And if we change it just for one project, it just seems unfair to all of the other projects.
Thanks, Lauren.
So I think we're going to turn it over to
Yeah.
Adam. And I'm going to stop share and Adam will share, right?
All right, thank you. Let me get my screen ready to share here instead. Get that going. All right, so I see a lot of names on the list here that I've seen in previous years, so this is probably just a quick review for almost everybody. But if anyone has any questions or haven't been through this before and aren't clear about something, by all means, raise your hand or speak up. And if I don't notice the hand up, hopefully somebody at Housing Innovations will draw my attention to it.
Yep, will do.
So this is very much like the slides that you've seen that I'll be going through. When you log into the system, you'll be provided with a screen that'll have a link to all the projects that you are associated with. And we've got our at the top of the screen here, there's the process overview and support links. I'll cover them first just to go through. So the process overview has basic information about the process that's all been covered in the slides and the timeline. Note that I'm doing this demo on our test system, so it's not using live data. So these dates will be filled in, and any of them that are not currently matching with the revised timeline on the live system you'll be using, I will make sure those dates are correct in the system after this webinar. Still have the dates used for data scoring, the dates that you have to make changes to your data and get it all cleaned up, the deadline for change requests, all that kind of stuff will be accurate on this list. And we've got the links at the bottom, the user's guide, the scoring criteria document, which was in the slides before, etc. So everything you need should be on here. And then the support page, as discussed, just emailing Housing Innovations is not the quickest way to get a response back. We have some list of common issues on here. that you can read for how to address it, such as data quality issues, links to the COC help desk for getting data cleaned up. We have the note here that if this is for a DB comparable database, to get a hold of Joanne at this address. And then below that, any issue you're having, if you select what the problem is, that will get routed to Nutmeg or Housing Innovations, depending on who the best person is for that particular thing. You'll have a list of grant projects available to you in this list. So if the issue is specific to a particular project, select it from the list, and then whoever this gets routed to, we'll handle it as quickly as we can. So once you click on that list of projects, and again, this is our test data here, so not all of this is going to exactly match what you'll see. You'll see a list of the projects that you have access to. You have those timeline dates on here, and you'll see both previous scores and this year's score if there is one so far. I'll go through the process for one of the programs on here at the moment. We'll go through, pick this one here. So when you click the awaiting submission button, the first time you'll have to do the grant assessment review. That is the thing here where you are going to have to confirm whether the operating year that's shown is correct or not, and whether the project list is correct or not, in case there's been any changes to that. On this page, DB programs will have the option to upload their HUD CSV export because their data is not directly in HMIS. I'll show an example of that afterwards also. Once you make those selections, you hit the button to submit for review, and that will reach out to HMIS, get your latest data there. It will reach out to SurveyMonkey, pull all your survey data in, and generate a score. Again, this is currently using simulated data, so this is not necessarily what you're going to see score-wise for this program, but this is what the process looks like. So you'll see all the criteria that apply to the program, what the benchmark standard is, what your performance was, the maximum points available, how many points you scored, you get your totals, the final score, any penalties that have been applied for late contacts entry or for lateness or for not having contacts updated, and then you get your final score. If you go through and need to clean up your data in HMIS, you will see a button over here that says refresh my data as per the slides. That's not showing on here at the moment because we have already passed by the data submission deadline that we use for testing. But you'll see the refresh button here. That'll just re-get your HMIS data. It'll re-get the surveys and rescore the application for you. You can do that as many times as you want as you clean up the data. The change request process that was mentioned. Oh, I see something in the chat here. That up and see if that's a question for me. Nope, just a comment. If, as mentioned earlier with the grievance process, you disagree with the final score that you have, you will have the option with the button up here to open a change request. And on here, you'll get a list of all the criteria you were scored for. And any of these that you disagree with, or if there was a penalty that you disagree with for some reason, you simply enter the reason that you feel that this should be scored differently. And new for this year, there is a general explanation field that is not specific to any criteria if you have any overall comments about your score. And then you hit the submit change request button that will go to Housing Innovations, and you'll be notified on the page if any changes are made or any comments that Housing Innovations has in response to that.
This is a good place if you've got concerns about criteria that we're not letting you grieve. This is a good place to put those comments. Our team will review all of these comments. This is something that providers asked for, a way to, give us more information. And we'll look at this every time the steering committee reopens, discussion about potential changes to criteria.
last point on here would be the grant evaluation assessment completion. When the program that you're working with is a DV program, the screen is the same in that it asks you to confirm your operating year and the project list, but there is also a space here to upload your HUD CSV export. That would be where it gets the data about the clients and et cetera to score all the criteria against. So non-HMIS programs and DV programs will have to upload that file here. The HMIS programs will not have this box because they'll get all of that for you from HMIS. Any questions so far? I feel like this part goes a little bit faster every year because it's covered so well in the slides, and there's not a whole lot that you need to do other than click a few buttons. So hopefully this is pretty self-explanatory and simple. If not, that's what the support links there are for. Any questions yet, or anything Housing Innovations can think of that I forgot to cover on here in my quick run through?
No, I'm not seeing any questions.
Nope. I just wanted to let folks know that there is no penalty this year for ZenGen contacts, so just you don't need to be looking for that.
Just to go explain the other tab, the HMI program details for people.
Yes. On this page, thank you, Miles. There will be additional details that might help you get some insight into where your score came from. So this will show you what the system sees for a lot of these things that are used for scoring. It'll show you which programs are included in this grant. It'll give you information about the program, if it's first time review, youth program, DV project, etc. The start and end dates for the grant, the financial data year that was used for spending and the amount of the grant and the amount unspent. And then for you have the number of participants, how many were adults, households, stayers, leavers, all the breakdowns of the counts used for occupancy, how many have annual and exit assessments or which don't have one due yet, which are missing or incomplete, etc. So if any of these do not match what you expect them to based on running the APR, that is a good indication that there may be some wonky data in HMIS, possibly overlapping enrollments or duplicate enrollments or something else. And we can certainly help you figure out why there is any discrepancy that may be there.
We would definitely suggest that every single project look at this screen, particularly focusing in on the missing and incomplete annual assessments, because that's really going to negatively impact your score, right? So if you see that you're missing or have incomplete assessments, you want to go into HMIS and fix that.
Yeah, in most cases, probably the missing or incomplete is there's probably two assessments put in, or there's two entries, and one was half filled and the other one wasn't was filled. Because I have noticed a lot of the various testings, there was double data for clients. So and the system will pick one or the other, and you don't. Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure how it picks, but if it picks the one that doesn't have all the data, it's going to work against you.
I see the question in the chat about what's the easiest way to find the client level detail of who is missing an assessment. That is a good question. I know you can look up the client's assessments in HMIS, but to specifically have it identified which ones are missing, I don't know that there's an easy way to do that in Red, but that might be a good suggestion to include that kind of a breakdown on here.
I thought there was another tool that Nutmeg had available for people where they could see that information. It's not in Red, but it is somewhere, no?
There is one that we have for that, absolutely. Yeah. So if you are not sure who's missing one or are having trouble locating that, that is something that that we and HMIS uh, help desk can help you identify pretty easily. But I don't think there is a self-service way to easily identify that in Red. But probably a good suggestion maybe to consider that as a feature to add.
Mansoor is adding, you might want to run your APR and HMIS and check one of the tables. I don't know if Adam or I think Tachiko was here. If you
Yeah,
have more information on that. Yeah.
yeah, thanks, Shannon. I'd say, and thanks, Mansoor. Good update. So of course, running the APR and checking the tables. I'm sorry, Mansoor is referring to, for example, non-cash benefits, income. Those will, at the very least, give you numbers, counts, right, of those that are missing the annual or exit assessments. But also just remember to check your client detail report in HMIS. There are actually there's the client detail report that literally gives you all of the clients, their IDs, if they're due for an annual assessment, and then there's columns for you to view if that data has been captured or not. Same thing for the leavers. And also within the APR, there is a data quality report built in to the APR as well. All right, one of the sub reports. If you have any questions, all of this is just like blah, blah, blah. Please submit a help desk ticket. We will work with you. If you need us to get on a Zoom chat with you and your initial request, just suggest a few dates and times and we'll get it scheduled and send you a Zoom link.
Thank you so much, Tachika. It's great to have you here and have that information available for our providers. Thank you.
You're very welcome.
And Jackie Gardner, who's our HMIS lead, is also here. She added some good information in the chat. Thanks, Jackie. Thanks for being here.
Just a reminder, when it says financial data year, that's the NOFO grant. So it says 2023 because that's the 2023 grant award, which is for 2024 to 2025. Yeah, to be try not to be confusing.
Okay.
But yeah, we have so many different years all over the place.
Adam, were you going to show the CAP process, or are you not set up to be able to? It's okay if you're not.
I'm going to show the cap process. I will have to. I apologize. I did not think of that. I would have to change the dates in here to mark everything as having been completed to be able to bring that up. It will take me a few minutes to be able to do that, but I can do so if you think it is worthwhile to do so.
I mean,
Actually, you
does
know what? I
anyone?
might be able to do that now. Let me go back. I
While
might have
Adam's
done that.
looking, does anyone else have question, or does anyone need Adam to show that? Because we can definitely stay on and make that happen for anybody that needs it. That's part of the process that will come later. I think it's fairly, I mean, I think the team over at Nutmeg have done a great job about making this fairly self-explanatory. And we're always available, our team and their team, to help if it's not. Other questions providers have?
Well, while Adam's doing that, you guys may have some extra. Stay on if you want to hear this, but you have some extra time to hop in RED and check it all out.
Yeah, so I think the remaining slides that we're going to show after Adam maybe is able to show the cap here are really just links to resources and our contact information and a prompt for any additional questions. So if you don't need to see the cap feature and don't have any other questions, I think people can hop off team. Or am I
Yep.
jumping the
Nope.
gun?
There is a question in the chat. Ashley's curious to how we get the information, how to view the client level detail on the new return to homelessness metric. I don't think that's something that you can, I think that looks at the whole system and whether a client who has left your program to permanent housing returned to any location within the system. So I don't think on the individual project level, like on an APR, for instance, that's something you will be able to see.
Yeah, I mean, I personally could see that because we have a subtool report that I'm able to it's actually I have to run two reports really, but yeah, to make it work. But the we have a testing report where it tells you all these people that return to homelessness, and then I have to cross check that with the other parts of the APR, which I have to run two reports because of two different years. So I could we
Why
do
don't
have something, but it's not available for everybody at this point in time.
So why doesn't our team, we'll talk internally about what's the best way. If you've got questions about that, just submit it in the support ticket. If you need information that you don't have access to, but we do, and our team will talk internally about what's the best approach for getting people the information you need.
Should I go ahead with the final slides?
I think that's probably a good idea. Yeah, I'll have to, in order to create the corrective action plan, I need to
Okay.
fake score a program badly enough to get one, and
Yeah,
then go through
yeah.
the admin process to create it to show it. That'll take me several minutes to do. So I don't want to hold everybody up in the meantime.
Okay. All right. I'll go ahead and share this. Thanks again, Adam. All right. So we just did that. So questions and oh, Liz.
Yeah, no, that's fine.
No.
And we just want to make sure folks know about all the resources available. Check out the renewal evaluation page. It's got all this good information. And like I said, contact us. Don't be frustrated and clicking around if you're not seeing what you need. Pick up the phone and ask us. And yeah, check out that website. And then I think we just have our contact information. Happy to hear from you and